Welcome to the 50 Shades of Pain podcast. My name is Dr. Danny Shapiro, and I'm a doctor of physical therapy. If you're in pain or had terrible medical experiences, I will be telling you why the medical system is broken and why you probably feel stuck within it. If you've ever left a doctor's office and thought, what was that? Is that it? Well, then this podcast is for you.
Welcome to another episode, 50 Shades of Pain. Today, I have my colleague, my awesome PT that we work together with in the office. His name is Uriah. And we're, I wanted him here because we both have had a very interesting experience to get to where we are today. I run my clinic in a very specialized way and in a different way than most traditional PT clinics. Both Uriah and myself have been in traditional clinics, and we just want to talk more about that. Talk why people are so stuck in pain. People have been in pain for months, for years, decades, and all they've tried was the traditional, typical PT places or your typical chiropractor, typical massage therapist. And why people are actually stuck in pain. So I actually want to kick this episode off with Uriah kind of just telling us a little bit about your experiences. We just hired you right towards the end of the year in December 2023. You started with us in January 2024. So to us a little bit about your previous experience, the last clinic that you worked in. The one that I stole you from.
So 2 prior insurance-based clinics that I've worked with, um, I would see 2 people an hour. One clinic, and that's better than most other places that that a lot of my colleagues, my classmates and stuff like that work in, but I would see 2 people per hour. One clinic, I would have 2 people on the hour, so the appointments would be on the hour, every hour, 2 people at a time. So, I mean, treating 2 people at the same time, you have your limitations. It's full hour straight for the both of them, but I was literally hoping that one person would come early and the other person would be a few minutes late so I could take one and do one-on-one stuff to start. The one-on-one evals were great and that's pretty unheard of for the most part. But, 2 people at the same time was pretty difficult for me to handle. I would often tell someone, hey, like, I know your appointment says 10 o'clock, come in 10:15 and hope that they're on time, and pray that the other person is also like on time on the dot on the hour, just so I could give each person one-on-one manual care. Because ideally, if 2 people come at the same time, it's like, all right, you go on a bike and I got to work with you. I mean, I'm just so shorthanded and it's unfortunate. The previous place I worked at, it was 2 people an hour as well, but it was every 30 minutes. Now that's a lot more doable. I also had like an aide, someone helping me with with whatever I had to do with patients. So there was a lot of turnover in that clinic because aides don't, it's not their career choice. It's something that they're doing for a short term. They're in college. So I would have like a new aide every few weeks and I would have to teach that aide a lot of the different things that I do with people. And for every single person that I work with, I'm doing a bunch of different things. If it's, they would often get training from the company. And there was like this list of exercises for back issues, for hip issues, for knee issues. And it was just like run it through. And I was even told by like upper management, hey, stop giving them difficult exercises, things of that nature, because the aides don't know what to do. It's overwhelming, stuff like that. And to me, it's like it's a complete disservice to the patient because I'm not going to stick to like the cookie cutter approach that most PT mills do.
Yeah, full stop for a second. Uriah just mentioned a list of exercises for each issue. Now, if that isn't a load of BS, if you've ever heard it one before, that's already such a hallmark of a traditional place where you have 20 people come in for issues, all 20 people are doing the same things. Uriah, I know the way Uriah works. I see it here in clinic, and it is awesome. He does progressive exercises. He regresses them if he needs to. Takes a step forward, takes a step back, whatever is necessary for the patient to ultimately get better. But this is not what is done. The traditional model is for the masses. So if 200 people enter the clinic, of this 200, perhaps 120, whether it's 60, 120, 30, but a chunk of that 200, the chunk of that number is going to get better. While the rest of the people are honestly, to say it kind of crudely, shit out of luck. Therapy didn't work. And then when they go back to the doctor's like, well, physical therapy didn't work. Now we have to try these harder medications. We have to try steroid injections. We now have to consider surgery. But in fact, it could just be that it's not that the therapy didn't work. It's just that that style of therapy didn't work, and seldom does it really work. Again, 95% of our patients have all come from the traditional model. They've tried the traditional places, more than just one, but it's not just they've tried one and that's when they come to our doors. Most of our patients have tried 2, 3 plus other places, especially the patients who've been in pain for years, decades, which is really sad because that is so much time that has been wasted. Forget co-pays that people had to pay co-pays. Like, forget the financial aspect of this for a moment, but just time. Time is something that we can never get back. Money we can earn back, but time is something that we never get back, no matter how hard we try. And every day that someone walks around with is another day that someone walks around with pain. And that affects you physically, emotionally, it affects you societally, right? Like, whether your ability to go out with your friends, your ability to go to the gym, your ability to do an activity that you like, to go hiking, to go biking, to go swimming, to spend time with your own family. These are crucial aspects of life that if you don't approach your pain the right way, that you can't really participate in those things. And again, it's not your fault. It's not you, the patient. It's not you, the person suffering with pain. It's not your fault. It's just a lot of times people just don't know where the better option is, right? I mean, like you're right. Like, I mean, there have probably been so many people. You've been seeing 2 people an hour at the last clinic, which again, it's kind of like you hope someone comes later or earlier, which is crazy. Like, that's crazy. Either way, even if it's two, and that's like you said, that's better than most clinics. But I mean, like the numbers that have walked through your office, I'm curious across all the therapists that are there. Like, I wonder how many walked out not being paid anymore.
So it depends on like the provider. For me, I didn't care what upper management told me. Don't do these exercises. Don't do this with people. Bill for Easton, all this stuff. I didn't care. I did what I felt was needed for the patient. Granted, let's say I had 40 minutes with them, 50 minutes with them. If I was lucky, I would even pray like sometimes, like, oh, if this evaluation doesn't show up, I get more time with the person that needs it. Um, it was hard for me to wrap my mind about giving proper care to people because at the end of the day, I became a physical therapist because I love this job. I love what I do. And the most heartening thing for me is getting people better and seeing how happy the joy it brings them to do the things that they love. So with me, like, I had pretty good success with patients, nothing different because I gave my all to people. I would come early to see people sooner. I would stay late, to give them the best possible care that they deserve. I had colleagues, and it would make me want to pull my hair out. Or I would see the same people day in, day out, same exercises. It's like the same manual massage. Your knee hurts. Here's a knee massage. And you're going to do the same 5, 10, 10 exercises with, you know, with an aid for the next 30 minutes. Done. Ice, heat, stim, whatever, rinse, repeat. Like, and to me, that some of these patients, just because, if someone is a good talker, the PT is a good talker, he's a good people person, they go there to just talk, relax, unwind. But at the end of the day, like a lot of people just do want to get better and get back to the things that they love doing. And it's frustrating when that doesn't happen. So, if like a colleague of mine would continue to do the same exercises, God forbid, one of them ended up on my schedule and I would do an entirely different thing with them. I had altercations with certain people because they told me that patient is their patient, that I have to follow his plan of care. And in my head, I'm like, this girl's been coming here for 6 months. She's like 25 years old. You do the same things over and over again. So, I think I love this expression by Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. I mean, that's what it felt like. And and like in this one specific case, and there was plenty, this person was like, I like this. Let's keep going. And then she felt uncomfortable to continue working with me because she had established like a relationship with the therapist for 6 months. I mean, there was definitely a bunch of patients I poached, but like they weren't getting better and they just kept coming back for the camaraderie, not for the actual physical aspect of getting better. And that just drove me nuts.
That's it's funny that quote. I was actually thinking this when you were telling the story. I was thinking about the exact same quote. Because it's true. Like, definition of insanity is do the same thing over and over again, right? Like that poor girl, and for 6 months, you did more for her in a session than that therapist did for her in 6 months, which is nuts. Like, that's it just highlights the just the plainness of what's going on. And this is just in one clinic. Imagine what's going on across all clinics that are run this same way.
Even worse.
It's just endless. It's pretty much just PT until your PT runs out. Depending on your insurance plan, you'll have like 30 sessions of PT for the year, 60 sessions of PT for the year. Some have like 100. And, I was working with a girl once. She had a lot of really bad nerve pain through her neck and shoulders. And she told me that over the last year and a half, she's gone through 100 sessions in a year and a half, 100 sessions of PT. And she had maybe a 5% change. Maybe. Because I asked, how would you feel like before when this paper started? What did you feel after? Like, this was a consultation. What did you feel after the 100 sessions? She's like, honestly, the same. 100 damn sessions. And that was the most infuriating part, because in 2 weeks, we dropped down the pain by 75%. Like, for what she did in a year and a half, in 100 sessions, in 2 weeks, which was 4 sessions that we had, we dropped it by 75%. And we're talking really serious pain. This girl has been for a long time. She's only been going to this therapy place for the last year and a half. But she has terrible nerve pain through her neck, through her shoulder blades, through her arms. And all it took was 2 weeks to drop down 75%. We ended it with complete no, but just to highlight the almost instantaneous change relative to how long she's been dealing with everything for. And all that's different is the approach, right? It's where to us, it's not important to see what we can charge insurance. To us, it's important to see how can we actually change your life. That is what is important. And, that's what we really, really value here in my clinic. This is what I set out the moment that day I opened my doors. This is my single biggest mission, is to change your life, to change the life of those who come through my doors. Now, Uriah, why, and I hope I didn't steal a little bit of your answer here, but why did you want to leave that clinic?
So like throughout PT school, I had some really great mentors, and they all, were not insurance-based clinicians. So they kind of opened that door to me. I never, as a student, I don't know about you, but for me, like I didn't know that that was even a thing. Until like, I was taught by the right people. And when I would go about treatment during school, you have your residencies, your clinicals, whatever you have. And I was in clinics where I would see like 30 people in a day. And
Wow.
I mean, there's only so much you could be the best therapist in the world. I don't care. It doesn't matter. When you have 10 minutes with one person, of course you can make changes in 10 minutes. I'm not saying that. But imagine you have an hour straight every single time. And this ties back to what Danny said about time. I mean, 4 sessions, 75% pain decrease, right? Something like that. Versus a year and a half of not just financial waste, whatever, but time, commuting there, going home, spending an hour and a half there for nothing. So, I mean, time is so valuable and important. What else did you ask in terms of how did I?
Well, like, what made you want to find a different clinic space to work in? What attracted you to my clinic? What were you looking for?
So, like I said, I've had experience work. I had people who taught me like that the cash based clinics are a thing, and I kind of ventured out on my own for a little bit, doing that in between like jobs and stuff, and I loved it. I was able to do whatever the hell I wanted, whatever I felt was best fit. If I felt like a patient needed more of something else, I would do it. An insurance company, hey, someone has knee pain, you can only look at their. I mean, you're so limited in what you can do in that sense. If someone's knee issue, for example, is coming from somewhere else, and you're only allowed to touch their knee, you're never going to sleep. That again ties back into what Danny was saying. Hey, if you have 200 people, 30 will get better. Whatever chance. So sure, movement, get stronger a little bit. You'll get a little bit better, but for vast majority of people, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I ventured out a little bit on my own, did some private stuff on my own, and then when I found someone who has like the same ideals as me, the same ethos of patient care and getting people better, and not just running through a mill, trying to make as much money off of insurance companies, for example, as possible, I was like, okay, all right, my thoughts and values align with this person, and he's a great clinician, great person, great boss. And, I was super attracted to all of that. And we have a good team here now.
And he's not just saying that because I'm sitting.
There's no
Promise.
gun under the table pointed.
I mean, they don't see you under the table, so they don't know.
Well, I'm letting them know.
That's good. You lied to them now.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that we've lied about so far. No, joking. Um, yeah, no, that's great. I also myself, uh, before we hired Uriah, I've told this to Uriah as well. I just think it's hilarious. Um, we've interviewed a lot of PTs who are, we'll call it fresh, fresh out of school, fresh out of their clinicals, which I have nothing against. I'm okay with hiring that as long as they're good, right? As long as they have the potential to be good, I don't care. But we've also interviewed people who have been in the field for a few years, upwards of 5 or 6 years, which in the space, if you're in the field for 5 or 6 years, I mean, you better know what you're talking about. I mean, that's a solid amount of time to see a lot of different cases, to learn and grow as a clinician, to expand your mindset, to expand your knowledge base, your skill set, everything. And those were actually the most disappointing. The clinicians who had multiple years under the belt, that was the most disappointing interviews that we've ever had, because my interview process is very lengthy. My interviews, even just like for general staff and front desk, doesn't matter. Like my front desk staff interviews are no less than an hour to a half. My PT interviews are no less than 2 to 2.5 hours, which is quite lengthy, because I'm, again, like I said earlier, I'm consistent in my messaging of wanting to have only the best part of my team. I've hired a PT before and fired them a couple months later because they were not executing at a level that I expect for my patients. I want my patients to have the absolute best possible care. And so to do that, we have to have the best possible team. So, as part of my interview process, I would ask the PT to do a case study, to do an assessment and evaluation off the case study. Now, the case study is a patient that I have treated from beginning to end. I know every single detail about that case, and I can act that case. I can present the same way, exactly how they presented for me when they came in through my clinic. And I can't, Uriah was the only one who was able to adequately assess and tell me what the actual issue is. PTs who had 5, 6 years of experience had no clue. They were sweating bullets and had no idea what was going on or the handling skills were shaky. That tells me everything about a clinician. Now you might think, oh, but they were on the spot, they were nervous. Okay. Well, what about when you're on the spot with a patient? Are you also going to be nervous? Are you also not going to have your wits about you? Are you also not going to be able to give your very best on the first time meeting them? Right? The situation, yeah, it's a little bit different, but it's not really. So having the right clinician, right, is so damn important. Having the clinician be able to give you their all, having the ability to have the clinicians really listen to you, take care of you, actually try to understand what you've gone through and what else you want to do in accomplishing your life. This is how you have a very successful journey. And even if you've had pain for 15 years, I've had patients who've had pain for 40 years, able to clear it out because no one before me seeing them has given them the attention. And this is exactly what Uriah was saying when, this is what he was looking for. A place where he can give his all to his patients, not have to rush. I mean, how many patients do you see a day? Maximum that will allow in your schedule.
Here, 8 max.
How many hours do we work here?
8.
Damn right we do. 8 for 8, baby. No double bookings?
Never once.
Any triple bookings?
Never gonna happen.
Never. Because we value the patient experience. We value the ability to make sure that you don't feel like you're in a factory mill fun house. That's no fun at all.
And this is like the only clinic I've ever heard of that has like a 100% you're gonna be satisfied guarantee kind.
Oh yeah, we have a money back guarantee policy. Just so everyone's aware. If you're seeing if you're hearing this episode on Spotify or on YouTube, wherever you're hearing this, if you have ever heard of another clinic that has a money back guarantee policy where we give you're not satisfied, if you're not happy with the experience, you get 100% of your money back. If you ever heard of that policy anywhere before, please leave a comment. I would love to meet that clinical and shake their hand. uh, Again, it's about you.
And to me, what sticks out, not just necessarily the money back guarantee, but like that you'll be satisfied and happy with what happens, guarantee. Like that's the most important thing, getting
Yep.
better, right? Again, the finances, like Danny said, you can earn it back. Time, you can't. The fact that you'll be happy, I mean, I'm sure you can attest to this. I've had so many people get emotional with me on like a weekly or sometimes daily basis
Yes.
because I was able to give them the tools to get back to doing X, Y, and Z when so many people said like, you're done. That's it. No more. So many times I've had people, get choke up, cry, get emotional, whatever the case may be, because I was able to get them to a point that they never thought they accepted defeat essentially. And, that is so rewarding. Obviously sad to see someone cry, but like happy tears, and restoring the capabilities of someone to live the life that they want to live it means the most to me.
And this is also not just like blowing smoke up off someone's dreams. This is not giving them false hope. When we have these consultations that we offer, before we even do any kind of, plan of care, before we do an evaluation, people break down throughout the process of the plan of care because they see that essentially they've been lied to by doctors, by their previous providers, and that they can in fact get better, and they do get better. Those tears are backed up by facts. Those tears are backed up by results that they can feel, that they can experience. And that is truly, truly magical. To see someone who, for the first time, gets their hope back. And I can't tell you how many times people have said, wow, this is the first time I've had hope in years. This is the first time I've had hope in months. This is the first time someone told me that I don't need surgery. This is the first time that someone told me I can get better. And again, the journey it's tough, rough. It's actually relatively smooth. Again, once you find the issue, I mean, we like to terminate this. We terminate the pain.
Huh.
But it's true. It's true. When you understand the body as a whole, you're not limited because some insurance company that's profiting billions is telling you how to dictate the care to patients. When we don't follow that same policy and those guidelines, we're free to create magic. We're free to give you your life back. Again, this is the biggest reason why people are stuck with. This is why people have chronic pain, because nonsense doesn't work, and then just time ticks on by. Time doesn't wait for you. Time will keep going
And
every second.
as time goes by,
Yeah,
the confidence you have that you're going to get better just decreases. It's like an inverse relationship. Time goes up and your confidence goes down.
exactly. And a lot of times with time, the longer pain stays and grows and spreads. Multiple systems get affected. There's multiple issues that your fear and anxiety of movement, activities that you enjoy go up, and gets everything gets flushed down the toilet, and it doesn't do you any good. Um, so to close this off, I think a lot of people are going to ask because this is a very common response to talking about this is how do I know or make sure that the provider that I'm is the right provider? Right? How do I know if this is, whether you're insurance-based clinic or a specialty clinic like ours that doesn't work with insurance plans? How do we make sure that we are spending the time wisely and our resources wisely? Again, if you're dealing with a copay, you're still paying money, right? Hey, people say, oh, I rather work through my insurance, but my copay is only $20. Okay, well, if you have 20 sessions and those 20 sessions do you no good, and this is over the course of 10 weeks, you just wasted time and you just wasted $200. $400. See, I'm no mathematician. Uriah is a mathematician. $400. All right. Like that's, you're still spending money, and worst of all, you're still spending time. So to close this off, Uh, Uriah, we kind of go back and forth here. Let's go point for point. What should someone look for in a provider?
I think one of the most important things is someone actually telling you what's wrong with you and having the confidence to explain why, how it happened, maybe stuff like that.
To actually point to add on to that is someone who doesn't just say, "Oh, just trust me," and actually takes the time to explain to you everything, explain to you why it's happening, what is the actual journey going to look like. Where we're starting from point A, where is point B?
Outlining your goals, asking you what your goals even are. I mean, so many people knee pain. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Like I said earlier, here's the exercises, the manual techniques, whatever it is. That's what we're doing. Sure, but like, what are your goals? What do you want to get back to? That's a huge important question. If you don't ask that, you don't even know what functionally to get them to achieve.
Absolutely. Uh, Making sure that the plan of care and treatment program is actually progressing, meaning you're not doing the same things over and over and over again. That the session, what you do inside the sessions change, what you do outside of the sessions at home, that changes. It has to be a progressive program.
Another thing that I like to, I like to ask people is, aside from goals and what was the first point? That telling someone what it is, like highlight, hey, this is what it's going to look like by this time. Hey, I expect you to be 80% by here. Being able to articulate how many sessions someone needs along along like the sphere of like treatment, essentially, to get someone better, right? You can't just say, hey, let's do 3 times a week for the next 4 months. Like, I don't see anyone for that long unless that's in surgery, which, we don't get many fresh post-op patients like that.
Mhm.
But again, like having some sort of indication and outline as to how many sessions the person needs and how we're going to progress you, like what Danny said, from there.
Yeah, there are verifications of which is longer than 3 months or so. Uh,
Even that's pushing it sometimes.
yeah, even that's sense. There are sometimes patients that are very special circumstances that we do see for longer. Maybe they have a special condition. Maybe I work with we both work with the EDS population, which is more longer term care. So there are certain situations and instances, but it's like that's like less than 4 or 5% of the patients that we work with. But everything, for the most part, even for people who had pain for a long time, it's pretty concise, pretty short term. And I think one of the more final points, unless you already have another one,
Yeah, sure. The
uh,
PT pushes you. It's
yeah,
not just easy.
yeah, yeah, PT shouldn't be easy. Definitely should not be easy. Um, but I think also a final point is having access to your provider. I think is super important. I have here what I like to call an open door policy, where if my patient has a question for me, A, of course they can always ask it in person, but B, if they have a question when it's not their session time, if our session's on Wednesday and it's Thursday, our next session's not until Monday. If they have a question for me on Thursday, on Friday, they can easily call, they can email. We respond within 24 to 48 hours. I believe having access to your provider is so important for confidence, to manage fear, to manage stress, to manage anxiety, to help further push you along. Just having that communication is so great. We value rapport with patients in clinic. We value our rapport with patients outside the clinic. And just having a provider that is there for you, I think is really awesome. Uriah, any final points that you feel like is important to mention?
Yeah, that was pretty thorough.
I would say so myself too. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Uh, and if you have any questions, any comments, please do post them. We'd love to respond. We'd love to see them. And yeah, we'll see you. Uriah will join us intermittently here on these episodes. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode of 50 Shades of Pain. See you soon.